Hearts beat fast, colors and promises. How to be brave? How can I love when I'm afraid to fall? But watching you stand alone, all of my doubt suddenly goes away somehow. One step closer. I have died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I love you for 1,000 more. Hi, loves. I sang that song because today when I was working on editing my videos and putting things up on YouTube, that song came up on my playlist, and I hadn't heard that song in a really long time. And I love that song by Christina Perri, 1,000 Years. And when I heard it today, it was sort of like a different perspective that I had. And the perspective was those lyrics that I read to you, it was like a conversation between love and fear, between what it feels like to speak up and what it feels like to stand back. The lyrics, like, I'm gonna look at my paper. How can I love when I'm afraid to fall? And I think that that's such a powerful lyric because I think that's what happens to us a lot, is we feel like we want to speak up, or we feel like we want to do something that we know in our hearts is right, but we are scared of the outcome, or we're scared of how people will receive it, or we're looking at what everyone else is doing and no one is doing it that way, so why would we be able to do it in a different way? And so I just want to send you a lot of love and encouragement today. And what came to me when I was thinking about what would be helpful for me to talk to you about today is finding family in humanity. Finding family in humanity. And with everything that's going on right now, there's a lot of unity happening, which is beautiful. There's also a lot of tension that's being created. That's sort of like life, right? You have these very beautiful parts of life, and you also have these very challenging parts of life. And part of the journey is being able to make it through the beautiful parts and using that energy that you've taken through the beautiful parts to get you through the challenging parts. And, I love to look up definitions. So when I was thinking about finding family and humanity, I said, okay, well, let me look at the meaning of humanity. And humanity means the human race, right? Human beings collectively, all of us as human beings, all of us as Homo sapiens, all of us as a species. And family means all the descendants of a common ancestor. All the descendants of a common ancestor. So you have human beings collectively and all the descendants of a common ancestor. And so when we think about feeling different, feeling that because of how we look, we are separate, there's so much there to unpack. And it's something that I think about a lot. I think about all the time. Because at the core of it all, right? People who look like me or may look differently from me, we all have a heartbeat. We all have, if we get cut, we all bleed, you know? And I've been in so many different conversations about whether race exists, whether people are able to see color, whether it even matters. And it's clear, it's very clear that it matters. And the interesting part about that for me, especially when I'm trying to think about healing, is to understand how I see myself. Because the most important thing that you can do in life is learn how to be love. I truly believe that. The most important thing you can do in life is learn how to be love. And that sounds very simple, but it's one of the most difficult things to do, because love requires the elimination of fear. Love requires the elimination of fear. And it's interesting, right? Because fear is something that we experience because it just seems like it's part of our makeup. It's like if you see something, you move fast, you jump, right? And as kids, as children, we really have this concept of not being in fear. We feel that we are so free and we are so comfortable with ourselves that we become friends with people because we like them. We become bonded and connected with people because they make us laugh. That's love. But I think what happens as we get older is we get told otherwise by the people that are around us, by the people that we love, by what we see on television, by what our teachers tell us, by all of the things that we are influenced by and surrounded by. And our perception of being connected to everyone because we just love how that person makes us feel or love how that other person makes us laugh isn't the same anymore. I remember my mom told me this story, and she's told me this story several times, and she said that when she was like 3 or 4 years old, maybe 5, she used to live in this housing area where she could look over and see the other person's like balcony or porch. And next door to her was another little girl. And she said they used to talk across to each other all the time and say like, "Hey, how are you? How's your day? What are you doing?" And used to play. And one day, the little girl said, "You should come over to my house." And my mom said, "Okay." And she said, "Okay, let me go ask my mom." And the little girl went to go ask her mom. And when the little girl came back, my mom was like excited to hear like whether she could come over or not. And the little girl said, "My mom said you can't come over because you're colored." And back then when my mom was growing up, that was what black people were referred to as colored. And this little girl was white. And she said after that they didn't really talk as much anymore. Because after that there was a difference that was created between them. And so I think of that story all the time when I think about humanity and I think about family and I think about this importance of common ancestry and love. And with everything that's going on, I just want to send positive energy, healing energy, and really encourage you to tap into what love means to you, what humanity means to you, what bonds with people have meant to you growing up, how you've learned to interact with people. Because all of that is truly what helps us to heal. I think we often jump toward anger, and that's very understandable. But there's also this need to connect within, to heal within. A lot of us might be feeling right now, tension in our bodies. And that's because we are holding on to a lot of energy that needs to be released. And sometimes that can be released in anger when we are reacting. And while that is a natural way to respond, I think that it's really important to be self-reflective. And that's not easy. It's not easy for you to look at yourself and say, how can I make things better for myself? And to understand that when you make things better for yourself, you make things better for the world. I'm going to say that again. When you make things better for yourself, you make things better for the world. And so we are all human beings, right? But the thing is that we walk through the world and have different experiences. And that's a reality. And that is to be respected. Everyone's personal experience in life is to be respected. We might not understand each other all the way. We might not have experienced what another person has experienced. But finding a commonality in love, despite confusion, anger, violence, is such a powerful thing. And I think that it all starts, honestly, with having a conversation at your dinner table with your family, having a conversation with your friends. Because a lot of times we have these things happen to us in our lives, like microaggressions, right? And in one of my previous videos, I spoke about the need when your voice vibrates, when your voice shakes, it's time to speak up. We experience things a lot, we hear things a lot, but we just let them go. And I think what is especially coming to the surface right now is the fact that there's a lot of things that need to be talked about. And they're not easy to be talked about. It's not easy to talk about race. It's not easy to talk about feeling different. It's not easy to talk about your fears or misconceptions. But that's where love comes in. If we are able to first connect with ourselves, understand our own fears, understand our own stereotypes, understand our own issues, we can better understand others. But you have to be willing. We have to be willing to be self-aware, self-searching, self-reflective, so that we can go out into the world with a loving heart. You know, when we're carrying all these wounds and things that we haven't healed within ourselves, it can be really hard to love on someone else. And so when you think about your family today, think about the humanity of it. Think about how even in your own family, there may be differences. There may be people who've experienced things differently than you. And to have conversations about that so that we can start to heal from within, with our immediate families, and with other people, our friends, people that we go to work with. Conversation is so important. And I say conversation where two people are willing to connect and openly speak about how they feel from a loving place. Ask yourself, what do I need to heal first? And sometimes those answers don't come right away. You know, ask yourself, what does humanity mean to me? What does family mean to me? What does love mean to me? Today, I put my 30-day journal writing challenge on my YouTube channel because it's June 1st, and I believe that journal writing is so important to how we can better understand ourselves so that we can understand how we show up in the world. And so I encourage you to join that challenge if you haven't already with me and really reflect. I encourage you to have these conversations where you talk about love, talk about fear. That's where change happens. It's in those everyday interactions that we have, right? It's when a mom tells her daughter she can't play with a friend from across the way like my mom because she's colored. That starts the tension, that builds, that separates and divides our humanity. So while we may all walk through the world and have different experiences, that doesn't mean that we can't have conversations. And the first person to have a conversation with is yourself. I send you all so much love and good vibrations and healing energy, and keep being your unique self. Remember that everyone experiences life in a different way. Remember that everyone heals in a different way. And remember that you have the power to change things in your life. And you have the power to be brave enough to show up with love when you walk out into the world. I love you. I send you so much love. I hope there were some things in this video that resonated with you. Let me know in the comments. And I'm doing these inspirational talks as many days as I can up to my 35th birthday. And I send you so much love and healing energy. Thank you for having this conversation with me. I love you, and I'll see you in the next video. Enjoy your day, love. Keep your head up and shine your light. And remember, look for the family in humanity.